everyone, it's Stasia and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to try to make this video quick, but I'm not sure how long it's actually going to go for. But we're going to wrap up the month of May. So yeah, first and foremost, we'll always do my haul. So first I'll just show you what I got from Book of the Month, because last month I only got one book. So the one book that I got last month was Darling Girl, and it's a Peter Pan retelling, is all I know. Then I got 3 books, 2 I bought myself and 1 was gifted. So the 2 books that I got myself, the first one was Temptation, and this is book 1 of the Hunted series. I actually already read this on Kindle, but I love the author and this series so much that I'm slowly trying to accumulate her entire backlist. So I got this on Pango Books for fairly cheap than what I've usually seen it going for, so I'm excited about this. And then I also got myself Family of Liars, which is the prequel, I believe, to We Were Liars, which is one of my all-time favorite books. So I'm really excited to get to this one as well. And then the one book that I was gifted last month was Him by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. All I know about this is that it's a male-male hockey romance, possibly enemies to lovers, not entirely sure, but I've heard great things about both of these authors and this series itself, so I'm excited. So those were all of the books that I got in the month of May. Not much. I'm trying to cut down on my buying, which is fine. So there's that. Now we'll go into my normal wrap up. So first we'll start with some stats. Last month, in the month of May, I read a total of 15 books, and that came out to a total of 5,091 pages. My genre breakdown for that was 1 fantasy, 2 mystery, and 12 romance. Format wise, I did 10 ebooks and then 5 physical books, but of those 4 of them were a mix with the audio. And yeah, so I'm gonna do it how I usually do it. I usually just go in the order that I read them because it's just easiest for me that way. The first book that I read last month, Groomed to Perfection by Samantha Chase. So this follows our main characters, Emily and Cooper. Emily is a baker and Cooper is just trying to figure his life out for a second. So this is like a billionaire friends to lover situation, which I really enjoyed. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I really flew through it. I loved both of our main characters. I thought that our female being a baker was so fun. I found myself to really enjoy those kind of books where baking is an aspect of it. But they were super different, but they meshed together so well, and their romance was just great. Super enjoyed it. And then the next book that I read was Rulebreaker by Stacy Lynn, and I gave this book 5 stars. This is a hockey romance, and it follows a single mom and a hockey player, and it was just so much fun, honestly. Our main guy, Dominic, is kind of he's usually an outsider, really quiet, just kind of does his own thing, doesn't really focus on what other people are doing. But then he meets our female main character, Holly, and he instantly is just there's something about her. So he tries to pursue that. But Dominic is more of a damaged hero. He has a lot going on, he has a lot to deal with, so he's very much not interested in the realm of dating, but Holly obviously changes that. But like I said, Holly is a single mom, so she also has things going on by herself. But the entire book, I love them. They were just so great. Their growth together was amazing. There was very minimal miscommunication in the book, which is great because I feel romance does miscommunication so much. But overall, I really loved this. I loved all these side characters as well, which I think other books in the series are going to follow other side characters. So I'm definitely going to go back to the first book in this series and also look out for future ones, because I love the bond within the team and seeing Dominic interact with everyone. It was just a great time. Next, I finished finished The Pirate, which is by Amelia Wilde, and I gave this book 4 stars. This book is actually a bind up of like 3 other books. Like it's 3 books in a series, and I didn't know that it was a bind up. So I was like, why is this book like 500 some odd pages long? Like that is really big, even for a romance. So yeah, so it's actually a bind up of 3, so I guess I can't really go like too far into details because I guess I might end up spoiling like book 2 or 3. But all in all, I gave it 4 stars. This follows our main man, Poseidon, and he is basically a pirate. So he runs his own ship, he lives on the ocean, loves it there. He has a very tragic backstory. So one day he's on the sea and he sees like a woman floating in the water, and her name is Ashley. So he takes her aboard trying to save her until he realizes that she's actually worth something. Like her dad is like super big name, he's a billionaire or something like that. So he's like, oh, maybe I could use this to my advantage. But it ends up turning into something more for him. So all in all, I gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it, but it did seem to drag on a bit. I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more had I read like each book separately instead of reading like an entire bind up and not realizing that that's what it was. Poseidon was great. I will say that Ashley wasn't necessarily like my favorite heroine. She was kind of just okay to me. I wish she was kind of developed more. Like I felt like she felt a little flat for me, but all in all, I enjoyed it, so that's fine. The next book I read was Wild About You by Rebecca Genshak, I think. And I gave this book 5 stars. This is another hockey romance, but it's more of like a second chance romance. So in this book, we follow Tyler and Piper. So when they were in high school, they had like a really great thing going for them, but obviously things happen, so they had a past. But they run into each other again, and they can't really help but feel the connection. But instead of jumping right into that, instead Tyler asks if Piper could help him out with his sister, Everly. So it kind of becomes more of like a nanny situation. Like she's there to help out Tyler with Everly because they form like a really great relationship. And Piper is one of Everly's teachers, or like student teachers. So that's the whole situation. I loved Tyler and Piper and the sibling relationship you see grow between them and Everly. It was just great. I think second chance romance is becoming one of my favorite like tropes because they always have some sort of past together, and you can't help but like root for them and hope that they grow past that situation and have like a happily ever after. But like I said, this is also a hockey romance, so I feel like in sports romance it's also so fun because there's a lot of side characters that really brings the story together. So the side characters in this one were also so much fun. It was just a great time. I loved it. 5 stars. Next I read Always Mine by Laura Pavlov, I believe. And this one was also super fun. I gave this 5 stars. We follow our 2 main characters, Vivian, who is a baker, and Nico, who is a firefighter. This is a more like childhood friends to lovers situation. This is also a bit of like Grump Sunshine. Nico is very much like closed off. He does his things and that's all he really cares to do. Where Vivian has like a really big family and constantly has people around, constantly has things to do. So it was kind of like an adjustment for them to transfer into like the lovers, because Nico has always been basically a part of the family since they were like childhood friends. They were just always together, but obviously eventually feelings started to grow, things like that. I love their romance. I thought it was so much fun. There's a few like scares in here that it made me really emotional. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how this is going to turn out. But all in all, like I said, I super enjoyed it. I think Nico was such a great hero and Vivian was such like a great heroine. They brought a lot out of each other. And I think that's what happens when you have like friends to lovers, especially in the childhood, because they've seen each other grow up. They know each other's issues. So it makes for a great story because they already know each other instead of trying to like figure each other out. But yeah, so small town romance, super fun. There was also Nico has a little niece and you just can't help but like melt your heart at those interactions as well. So like the non-romance or like the platonic romance versus like the actual romance. Like they were all just great and I loved everything. Next, I read Blame It On The Vodka by Fiona Cole. I also gave this book 5 stars. We see a pattern. I love these romances I'm living. So this follows our 2 main characters, Austin and Raylan. Super close friends ever since they were like younger. Raylan is very much like an independent woman. She's like, I don't need a relationship. Like, I don't really need a man. I'm good on my own. And Austin was just like a total sweetheart. I love that man. Like, he was such a great hero. But anyways, so Austin and Raylan go to Vegas for like a wedding or something like that. And they wake up the next morning realizing that they are married. And this causes like a huge thing, because Austin was like, oh, that's fine, because he basically is already in love with his best friend, but he hasn't like fully expressed that yet. But then Raylan is like, oh no, like I never wanted to get married. I'm an independent woman. This is not what I wanted for myself. So it causes like a rift between their relationship, because she's like, I need an annulment, and he's like, but why can't we just figure this out? Like, it's fine, we know each other, I'm not a stranger. And that whole thing happens. But then the tables turn because Raylan actually needs him. So then it actually turns into like a sort of fake marriage situation, and they have to put on like this whole show. But like I said, I loved Austin. Raylan was also great. Her like character growth and like realizations really came forward. I felt like at first you're kind of just like, oh, why are you being like this? But then you take a look and you like see her past and what kind of made her this way. Both of their sides, like you see what they're thinking and why they felt what they felt for the marriage for each other. So it was like a great mesh, and it was just great, and I love them, and it was great. It was so fun. So I'm gonna run through the next 5 books really quick, because all of these 5 books are featured in a vlog. It is my vlog, I'll put it above and below. It's my vlog of the 24-hour readathon as well as Bookoplathon like weekend edition. So I'm just gonna run through the books really quick and then tell you guys like my rating, maybe a little synopsis, and then you guys can see like my full thoughts in that vlog. So the first book for that vlog was A Real Cowboy Always Comes Home by Stephanie Rowe. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. It basically follows this man who wakes up with amnesia, has no idea what's going on, but he knows that someone is after him, because the second he wakes up, this guy, he has no idea who he is, gives him a baby, and he's like, here, you need to keep him safe, you know what to do, they are near. And so we're just following him, figuring out this situation. The next book I read in that vlog was Electric Idol by Katie Robert. So this is book 2. Oh, the Dark Olympus series. So the first book is Neon Gods. And this follows Psyche and Euros, who's kind of in like a fake dating situation that they found themselves in. And yeah. Next I read Bitter Love by Emily Goodwin, and I also gave this book 3 stars. Kind of like a enemies to lovers situation, where our heroine basically like inherits a horse rehabilitation center with her daughter, and then the vet in town kind of gives her a hard time. That all grows. That's that. The next book I read in that was the Kiss Quotient, which I gave 5 stars. Really loved it. This follows Stella and Michael, and they are honestly just such a cute couple. So basically Stella hires Michael to help her practice for like a relationship, because Stella has Asperger's, so she's not like entirely comfortable with that, but she wants to be. So she hires him to help her, and then things go from there. The next 2 books I read, I will also give quick synopsis, because this is coming in a vlog that should be uploaded shortly after this. But the first one in that was The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. I gave this book 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is basically following Emma, who went to this camp when she was a little girl, and all of her bunkmates basically go missing. But then Emma gets the opportunity to go back. So she's trying to like dive into the past, get over this whole situation that she found herself in with the girls like so many years ago. So yeah, that was that. And then the second book in that vlog was The Hunting Wives, which I gave 3 stars. And this follows our main character, Sophie, who moves to this small town with her husband and her son, but she meets a woman named Margot and kind of becomes like infatuated with her, like is very curious in how she's living her life. So yeah, that's that. The next book I read was Traitor by Hattie Jude. This is the second book in the Loxy Prep series, and I gave this book 5 stars. I can't really tell you much because it is second in a series, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that this is a reverse harem book where we follow our main girl, Lennon. She's been through a lot, and she kind of seeked out these 4 guys, Abel, Bishop, Ronan, and Wells, who she had they were in a situation together when they were younger, but then something happened and they kind of like lost touch. So she found them again to try to figure out like what's going on, and it goes from there. That's basically the first book, but I can't tell you anything about the second book because it's a series. The next book I read was It Takes a Villa by Kilby Blade, and I gave this book 4 stars. This follows our main character, Natalie, who she goes to Italy on like this opportunity where she has the project to renovate like a place there. So it's basically like a home renovation. She comes from America to do this whole renovation, and she meets Pietro, which is our hero, and yeah, so he is kind of trying to help her because he's like the village like handyman or whatever, and eventually feelings start to show, but Pietro has a pretty rough past, so he's not entirely sure how to go about this. But also Natalie is kind of in like a stage in her life where she's really trying to figure herself out. So we're just trying to see how everything resolves itself and how they end up where they end up. You could definitely feel the connection. I really enjoyed it. I also loved the like renovation aspect, trying to like think of that. Super fun. I did think that the book was a little drawn out in some places. I don't feel like everything was completely necessary to include, but all in all, I did enjoy it. And then the last book that I read, I'm still currently reading it. I'm almost done, but if you are interested in my thoughts on this, I will have a vlog featuring this book. I'm not sure when, but at some point. But if you want to know my thoughts right when I finish it, you can friend me on Goodreads or follow me, because all of the books I read have a review, and that book is Darling Girl. And yeah, so we're following our main character, Holly, where she lives a life in where the story of Peter Pan was actually like her history. Like her mom is Jane, her grandmother is Wendy, but there's like an entire situation that they're trying to figure out, and that's all I can really tell you. I don't actually have final thoughts on this, but I will soon. So like I said, follow me on Goodreads. Alright, so that was a lot longer than I expected it to be, but that's fine. So those are all the books that I read in the month of May. It was a very successful month for me, considering June I read like nothing. But yeah, so I had lots of fun reading all these books. As you can tell, I've found my comfort and love for ebooks, so I read a lot of those now, but that's fine. Anyways, yeah, so these are all the books that I read in May. I had a great month, lots of 5 stars, enjoyed most of my books, which is always super fun. But that's it from me today. So you can like, comment, and subscribe down below if you would like. All of my socials to follow me anywhere else are in the description as always. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!